Men are slowly giving up and nobody cares. This is a video brought to us by Moon. It's a very big topic that I would love to talk about.
Increasingly, more and more men are giving up. Giving up on relationships, careers, and society as a whole. Resentment is growing, unemployment is becoming rampant, and keeping your head above water seems almost impossible for many men today. This is leading to more men than ever dropping out of society entirely. And it's not just that, men are becoming infantilized. With terms like adulting now becoming normal, it's clear that something ugly is happening that needs to be addressed.
I think a biggest issue with like this is people that have access to the internet and them having a lack of leadership in their lives and direction and inspiration and just guidance, I guess. And maybe they had that when they were a child and it just fades out. But now you have a lot of like online dads, like the Andrew Tates of the world and stuff like that, that you could go to like internet and you could get some YouTube University, some teachings from there, and it's a little dicey. Like there's a lot of things you can learn, like DIY stuff on YouTube that's really good. But then there's like the dark side of it, like financial YouTube, where people like to get financial advice and then go get tons of debt, or dating advice. And granted, there's a lot of stuff you could take from it that's good. A lot of it you can get from it that's good, but you apply it to your own life, and frankly it's probably not the best idea, and that can lead to a lot of bad choices. Now there's another side that is we'll get into it.
In such a strained, unnatural environment that is bound to start to wear on society, but men in particular are battling to keep up and are slowly giving up on dreams, giving up on trying, and giving up on doing anything constructive. And for a large part, it's really not their fault.
Is this unique to our generation? Like, is this unique to the times of day now? Like people giving up on their dreams and just taking like in a 9 to 5? I don't think so. People need to eat. Survival is based into our DNA, right? Survival is like a base instinct that we have. We'll claw at anything to survive. So I don't think this is unique at all to our generation by any means. I'm sure there's people growing up that wanted to be millionaires or filmmakers or whatever it might be, but then they lack of opportunities and lack of making opportunities for themselves. They settle with what they have at hand, and that's why a lot of people probably stay at the same job for years on end, but say they hate their job, right? It's not because they can't go apply at other places and try to stretch their horizons and expand as a person. It's because of laziness. That is a word you could use. Feeling safe and comfortable. So I don't think this is unique by any means to our generation at all.
This trend isn't just a personal struggle, but a societal issue that we must urgently address. So
women are better employees. Women work harder and more intensively. Women are more productive. So this could be a side effect of obviously equal rights. Women making the same amount of money for the same positions in a job, because frankly they can do the same. They can create the same result, and there's a lot of employers that are older men that want to have women working for them because frankly they're straight, right? They want to have young looking women around them versus young gross men.
So why is this happening, and why has it gotten so bad in 2024?
Yeah, why?
On the surface,
there's a lot of reasons. I'm just rambling off what's coming into my head. This is raw reaction.
It's a long and complicated story. Life has never been simple for any human, and objectively speaking, for men in the West today, it's never been better. We have all the technology we need. Food delivered to your door with the tap of a finger.
Well, there's also a lot of jobs that men would typically have probably back in the day have been taken away by AI, taken away by computers, taken away by animatronics, whatever you want to say, robots, all that kind of stuff.
Readily available to anyone with a simple swipe. Any products, items, or experiences that you want can be had with the tap of your phone. But over time, all of these comforts of life destroys the importance and necessity of struggle. Without any value placed on higher goals, where there just is no reason to care, means there's no reason for people to properly live or have the will to achieve.
Also, there's jobs that, like, for instance, take DoorDash, for instance, right? You have DoorDash, you order what you want, that goes to the store, they see it on their computer, they see the exact meal that you want, that is relayed to the chefs, and boom, bada bing, they cook it up, someone picks it up and delivers it to you. There was a job before that was like the, like the admin, like the person that answered your phone calls, like the Pam from Office, right? The receptionist. That job used to be like at every single job, but now there's like certain jobs where they don't have that anymore. It's just a computer. So like someone, with technology, it absorbs certain responsibilities. And now instead of having two people work there, doing the same thing as like the messengers, you could just have one person. And that one person could also be like the cash register or the person that cleans up the dishes or whatever it might be. So that it also, technology is eliminating jobs, right? And that would predominantly typically be like a receptionist or whatever you want to call that significant job. In the scenario I said, I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but like back in the day, you would imagine that would be a woman, like probably like I'm not even gonna put a number figure on it, but typically it would be, right? So that means that lady's gonna find another job, and boom, that's another job that a woman is fighting for compared to a man. So yeah. I could see that being an issue. I think technology, just at the base core of making everything easier, is eliminating so many jobs that it makes some people, you know, not have a job.
Greatness, which is
Shocker.
probably why 40% of young men aged 18 to
Unemployed,
45 meet the criteria for depression, and 49% of 18 to 23-year-olds have had a thought of passing themselves in the past 2 weeks alone. And
That's a crazy statistic. Is that true, or is this just for people that are trying to get like fucking what's the fucking certified pet, certified therapy dog? Yeah. Is this just because of that? People are lying to get free rent for their pets? I don't know. But that is an absurd number. That's crazy.
seeing the symptoms of this problem everywhere.
Oh, that's cool. It's got Gen Z, it's got Zennial, it's got Millennial, and then elderly. Wow, elderly. That's still a high figure for like elderly people. Wow. Elderly, 38 to 45. Oh Jesus, just a millennial, not an elder, not a. Oh God.
The sapping away of our vision and ambition permeates in all aspects of modern society today.
Yeah.
Our culture, architecture, relationships, bodies, and minds. Past civilizations before us have always placed their emphasis on beauty, wisdom, and logic for all the population to see, with great town squares, bustling with art, life, and community. These things were placed above all else as the bedrock of their societies, laying out a code of honor and struggle in its people to achieve greatness. Comforts were shown in art and culture, but as an aspiration for achieving something great. For following your mastery. But today our cities are mostly devoid of all of this character, and instead they're marked out by the most cost-efficient, bland, and sterile designs to facilitate a simpler, self-motivated purpose. It's why people flock all over the world to a handful of remaining cities that retain their centuries-old charm to feel and experience the character of bygone societies that were motivated by higher ideals.
It's crazy to think, I think really it comes down to like aspirations. You gotta think what are young people now aspiring to have, to be, to do. I think a very common sentiment would be to own a house. I think that is like the common goal for our generation, is like one day we want to have a house. I think that being the sentiment, that being like the widespread goal, and I might be biased, this might not be true, but when I talk to people, that's what people typically want. And I think that's the sad thing, that having a house is now like an aspiration or a goal that should be really just like a stepping stone on your path or your journey. But obviously the market's gotten crazy, so people of our generation can't just go buy a house for $200,000 with an easy loan, like our parents did back in the day. Now everything's doubled and tripled the price, and then the the loans, the the getting approved for the loan, the rate of the loan it's just crazy nowadays.
Ideals greater than our modern two-dimensional ways of thinking. With a prioritization of comfort, lust and opulence, and flashy materialism over individual excellence and greater community, we're now reeling in the aftermath, becoming instead a generation of mandated mediocrity.
True.
And does this explain why men today seem to struggle more than ever while seemingly having more than ever? America in particular is not actually in a recession.
That's a double standard, like having more than ever, but also having less than ever, like straight up.
In fact, on paper, the economy looks like the best it's been in a while. Unemployment has dropped, GDP is up, but what the people are actually experiencing is a completely different story. We can see this in a study by the University of Michigan on consumer sentiments, which gathers data based on how consumers feel about the current state of finances. In 2022, it dropped to an all-time low. Prices of our average daily needs like gas and food have increased in unbearable percentages. In contrast, salary increases do not match, putting a high strain on budgets.
Inflation is showing no signs of slowing down as Americans pay over $1,000 a month more on the same essentials we were buying 3 years ago.
It's crazy.
Nothing's changed but price. The latest consumer price index for March showing basic necessities like our food, housing, and gas are all.
Car insurance is crazy, man. 22%. That's fucking wild. Housing is wild too. All this is fucking wild, bro. And it's weird with the food. Like I sit down and have a meal, it feels like the same price, right? But when I have like fast food, it seems like it's like so much more expensive than what it used to be.
All continuing to cripple Americans' wallets with higher prices.
And then also cooking from home is like so expensive too. It's like, oh, just cook, we need to save money. We need to cook meals at home and everything. Prep at home. Okay, we do that, and then it's like, holy fuck, this is expensive as well. And on top of that, it takes so much time out of our day to do it. It's ridiculous, man.
Prices.
You can never win.
Our wages are actually down against inflation since Biden took office. So not only are prices soaring, but our wages, at least if you measure hourly wages, are not keeping up at all.
Keeping your head above water has become the new normal instead of owning a home with a white picket fence.
Imagine that. Who would have thought of that? That's
the
crazy.
rich are becoming richer and the poor are becoming poorer, with the middle class disintegrating completely. All the knowledge of the past of just going to college, getting a job, and buying a home immediately is just completely irrelevant for anyone working and living in 2024.
Eventually, the middle class will be the equivalent of, oh, you have a job? You're not unemployed? Congratulations. You're not living off of universal fucking income? Oh, good job, man. You have a job, man. You're making it in this world. You're part of the middle class now. That's the future we're headed towards. In my opinion.
Universities have skyrocketed in prices to absurd levels. The housing market is in a complete giant bubble. Everyone's sending out job applications more and more, all while using these automated
That's also part of the problem. The fact that you can apply like as much as you want everywhere online, and people can just like literally they get thousands of applications and they can just cycle through automatically to the best. It's like, okay, who has a college degree? And then boom, 2,000 people are deselected. Okay, who has this? Who's this? The build, and this is the same thing with like online dating. The ability to like flesh out all your options to optimize your choices is a huge problem, and I think it's not beneficial to the workforce at all. I don't think it's beneficial to the dating pool at all, because it goes from like a personal experience with a human. You interact with them, you engage with them, you have a one-on-one interview or whatever it might be, get to know them a little bit. It turns from that to a just like very statistic, whatever priorities this company has based operation, where they're operating like a fucking computer practically, because they're using the computer to do all their dirty work and vet all their applicants.
Testing systems, applying up to 100 jobs a day and still not getting anywhere. All the while major companies repeatedly tell
and then you hire some fucking dipshit that fucking lied on everything.
Plus, that they can't find any workers for their companies. And the results of this are clear. People are drifting towards more unfulfilling jobs, or just not even having a job at all. While
unfulfilling, but you don't have someone screaming behind your shoulder. A lot of people are moving to Uber, like he showed, to DoorDash, to a lot of these delivery. I know so many people that work for DoorDash. I worked for DoorDash back in the day to get a little extra money in my pocket, and it was nice. You make your own schedule, you do your thing. But the time slots are crazy sometimes on those places, especially for like, at least they used to be back in the day, and now they have like secret like pay increases and pay decreases for their employees, and they don't enclose those to certain. It's so weird nowadays, man.
Rich buy up resources, real estate, and everything that used to be the cornerstones of the middle class. It is now just an investment hidden through an offshore bank account for some giant investment fund.
Basically, what they want to do is create a nation of renters. BlackRock coming in and giving them more money than the house is worth.
How much more did it give them?
They can give them, 30% above.
Really?
Which is money.
And then they just lease those.
And if you're selling your house, dude, 30% increase, hell yeah, I'll do that. But you're selling it to big company,
Homes out.
And they lease them out. It's part of this idea that home ownership and automobile ownership and all of these things.
They want it to be a subscription. It's crazy, dude. You probably relate to this if you live in a town or a city that has a college in it. I swear, rentals and apartments and all this stuff, it's popping up everywhere, left and right, and they barely build new houses in the area I live in. Which is insane, because then it makes it harder to afford a home. It makes land more expensive. Like, I remember I was looking at land like 2 years ago, and it was like you could get like 5 acres or so for like $100,000. Now you can barely get 1 acre. It's like, what the fuck is happening? We're not even in, like, I'm in Texas. I'm not even in like the Austin area, right? I'm on the outskirts of the DFW. To dox myself right there. But yeah, it's insane, dude. It really is. Man.
These legacies.
Oh, and then also the subscription-based thing. I noticed this with video games too. Like, everyone wants to have a subscription nowadays. You have like EA Plus or whatever it might be. You have all these different pluses for subscription-based games where you can play all the video games, the new video games, or maybe not even the newest ones, but like semi-newish ones in EA's case. But it's not even just that. It's like the way they make video games nowadays. It's almost as if, because they don't want the game to be like up a hard copy of a disc. They don't want you to own it forever. So it's like they'll put out a game like Concord or something that's digital only. I don't know. It's just weird, man. And then when that game is done, it's like you don't own it. You don't have the. I don't know. I'm trying to connect too many dots in my head. Let me chill out.
Systems that people want to get rid of, and they go rent a house, use Uber, Lyft, whatever. You don't need to own. What does owning do for you? That's that famous article, you'll own nothing and be happy.
Right.
Yep.
And because of this, all saving plans for regular people are halted, because living paycheck to paycheck means there just isn't enough for a savings plan. And whilst there is still some hope to dig your way out, for most this does begin a damaged path. People end up working in a job that's not in their field, something that they hate to do every day, and eliminates the experience they need for the job in their field. And so even the experience they are getting is just completely useless for getting back on track. In effect, their now entry-level position is further deviating them from becoming lawyers, psychologists, or whichever career path they studied for. And if the middle class is experiencing this, then the lower earners are feeling this even more. The jobs they once had a chance of landing now go to the middle class, while they get hit a bump lower, which is putting millions of people in dire straits. They face working twice as hard for minimum wage, juggling between jobs, partaking in the gig economy with absolutely no security, all with an extreme pressure to keep up with daily expenses in a completely overpriced megacity. And the truth is, both middle and lower earners are now taking a huge hit to their egos. They feel disrespected through no fault of their own, as no man wants to feel like a failure. They don't want to feel like they're not providing or on their destiny. Imagine putting in the hours and effort to get a degree and then having to take a job that's not even within the field you studied for. Well, this is just regular life for most people nowadays. It's making men feel incredibly depressed and isolated.
Yeah.
They watch all this stuff on social media, they see people flexing the Rolexes on their Instagram stories. Meanwhile, they're struggling to survive, living a life they absolutely hate. And when friends and family ask about it, they suffer the humiliation of explaining why they had to take what was available. Even though it isn't humiliating at all, and they're doing what they can to survive, it definitely takes a huge effect.
Well, it's also, there's a huge gap between how people lived back in the day to like how they live now. And the older generations do not understand that at all. They think it's exactly the same. They just think prices are higher, but they're like, oh, well, you're getting paid more is also, which causes, a contradiction by itself. But Man, it's
affecting their
crazy,
mental health, especially as it wasn't that long ago, where it was actually normal to enter the workforce with a mentor who would show you the ropes and encourage you and push you to learn more. Starting at the bottom didn't seem so bad because there was an opportunity to grow and reap more rewards, but this imperative step is slowly slipping away. Companies of prestige have forgotten the generation with no experience, and for many companies, this is what they want. This is actually the ideal scenario, where they have people so desperate, so in need of experience, that they can treat their workers like absolute trash.
Yep.
Since the 1980s, testosterone levels have dropped more than 50%, and yet we're told to ignore it. Why? Because there's a coordinated effort to suppress masculinity and turn men into something they were never meant to be. This decline is no accident. We're constantly exposed to harmful chemicals in our food and everyday products, bombarded with estrogenic chemicals.
Alright, this is getting a little deeper, boys. I didn't expect them to go into the fucking diet of America. This is interesting.
From plastics, junk food,
Yeah,
and
here we
sedentary
go.
lifestyles, which is why testosterone levels have been declining for decades, with a 17% drop among 60-year-olds in 2004 compared to 1987. Sperm count and strength in men are also decreasing exponentially, with a 32.5% decrease in mean sperm concentration in the last 50 years. But here's the good news: there are ways to fight back, and one of the most effective solutions that I've found is our sponsor Black Forest's testosterone
Okay, it's a sponsor. I was like, where is he going with
with
this?
Tomcat Ali. This supplement is packed with two of the most powerful natural testosterone boosters available. Testosterone is a natural anabolic compound that helps increase muscle growth, boost recovery, and support higher testosterone levels. Tomcat Ali, used for centuries, helps raise testosterone, reduce stress, and improve overall vitality. I've been using Black Forest's testosterone and Tomcat Ali, and I've noticed a huge improvement in my energy, strength, and focus. It's like getting back the edge that modern life is just draining away. Right now, Black Forest is offering a buy two, get one free deal on this limited edition product, and once it's gone for good. I can personally vouch for its effectiveness.
heard that before.
It's had a huge difference in my energy levels, strength, sleep, and overall well-being. And by supporting our sponsors, you also support us directly. So hurry and take advantage of this amazing 48-hour promo and support me alongside this amazing brand using the link in the description below.
I always heard that testosterone, like, you had to, like, take it directly into a shot. Like, you couldn't, like, just, like, take a pill.
The cost
but
of
I
having
don't
a
know.
job
I'm not a doctor. by any
also
means.
plays a part in stripping them of their dignity. Transport costs to their job, depending on the amount, could take a huge chunk of their salary, so that at the end of the day, they can only pay for rent or food and not both. A government grant could replace their salaries, and they earn more or less the same amount.
What's also helping to pay the bills is, as I said, the U.S. government, in particular, our disability programs for people who are unable to work. Those programs seem to have morphed away from their original humane intention and now seem to provide an alternative income source to regular employment for several millions, for millions and millions of these guys.
If a job doesn't support your basic needs of a home, food, and transport, it wears thin in justifying the effort for this job, especially if you're not getting any experience. And in most cases, if you go into the gig economy, absolutely no security either. All for minimum wage. There's even a new term called quietly quitting, where you do the bare minimum of your job to the point that you're almost rendered useless and you get fired or simply quit.
That is so wild, bro. Like, how far does society have to degenerate to get to this point?
The fact that this term even exists shows that attention is desperately needed to solve this problem.
Yeah, what?
And while this is happening, it's becoming more and more common for both partners in a household to be living the same life, or even with most males' partners actually being the breadwinner. And whilst this isn't necessarily a problem at all, it is leading to some weird modern problems in the household. Men with families are actually switching their roles with their wives, except they're not actually doing what their wives would do if they were to stay at home.
When you look at what, I guess in Britain,
That's interesting, because that has been, like, you know, I know a lot of guys that want their wife to be the breadwinner for sure. But what else would they be doing besides, like, doing the chores and, you know, taking the kids to school and all that kind of stuff?
is called NEET,
Playing video games? Oh God.
N-E-E-T. Do you say that also in Australia? Neither employed nor in education or training. When you look at that huge group of well over 6 million prime age men, the story they're telling about their lives is really pretty devastating. It's pretty distressing. They basically don't do civil society. There's almost no worship, almost no volunteering, almost no charitable work. They've got a lot of time on their hands.
Bro, why would you do charity if you can't fucking afford it? Like, bro, what Who the fuck wants to do charity if you barely affording your rent? Come on now, what the fuck? That's not fucking weird. That's common sense. You know, if you ain't gonna do putting money in someone's pocket, they're not gonna want to work because they got their own problems, bro.
But
that's just for rich people, bro. It's such a privileged mindset to have.
They report doing strangely little help around the home or help with other people.
That doesn't make any sense at all. How would they be able to get reports about like what's going on the inside? This seems like a crock of shit.
At home.
Because of the situation, some men may feel a sense of worthless.
I'm sorry, that doesn't make sense. Who's reporting online? Oh, my husband doesn't. Well, they're actually. Never mind. Now that I think about it, some chicks might do this, but like I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me at all.
And resentment. Some men might take
and then on the training thing, not in training, like there's a stigma around going to college in our generation, which it's overpriced and really not needed to be successful, which is true. And it depends on what you're trying to do. If someone's a breadwinner, like are you gonna be the breadwinner your whole life, or is the goal for, I don't know, John unemployment? Is he going to be training to get a nicer job? Like I mean, my sister, she trained, she was employed at the same time though. Her husband was a breadwinner, and she was going to school, and she's about to graduate from school, which is awesome. So I mean, that was a way how they did it, you know. But she was still employed. Trying to think, like I don't know. There just needs to be a little bit more context on that situation, because I think that's a very broad stroke that doesn't have much substance to it. But comment down below. I want to hear what y'all have to think, honestly.
An hour to clean up the house and fetch the kids, but the rest of the day they sleep or play games. In some cases, the wives work and then come home to finish the chores their husbands were meant to do but didn't. And whilst this might cause huge marriage problems.
Yeah, I could see that. But that's just being a loser, honestly. I wouldn't assume this is very popular at all. Like the only reason I could see this being reported is this from like, you know, documentation of why you got divorced. But then that would be a very biased filing on a graph, you know. I mean, like you're only getting reports from divorces. Well, obviously they're gonna be in the negative connotation.
It still feels better off to the husbands. If asked what they do for a living, saying they're on a break or working on a project beats the humiliation of saying they work at McDonald's with a useless degree on their back. Men without families have nothing to lose, so they stop working because no woman would even want them anyway. They can't afford to date, they can't afford a family, and since their own families are supportive, it somehow justifies them giving up and staying at home. Rather
Jesus Christ, bro, this is depressing.
than facing these societal problems head on, with prices rising, getting hired becoming harder and harder by the day, and inequality becoming rampant within society, most men are just deciding to give up. Because instead of facing the hardships of having a job, it just seems so much easier to escape, whether it be terminally being online, playing video games all day, or hiding behind doing chores at home to show they still have a purpose and are doing their best. The point being that for many men in 2024, if they're gonna be disrespected and feel worthless, they may as well choose the easy way out than a battle. If respect had a currency on how it would affect your life directly, you would see a different picture. A man with a job with high pressure, long hours, and doing something that makes him feel degraded would be worth say $100, but staying at home playing games and escaping, all while being with the people he loves, is probably worth $200 because of how it affects him. This explains why more and more men are deciding to drop out of society rather than face it head on, as it just seems to be the easier path. If it's a choice between two paths, one that offers little satisfaction while the other provides comfort, it's easy to see why men are going this route. But the thing is, this is a terrible mistake, and this is creating problems that we've never seen before. If there is no emphasis or any facilitation of the need to aspire to something greater and the game seems rigged to most who are playing it, it's hardly a surprise record numbers of men are dropping out and giving up on the game entirely. The problem is that there's a huge group of men, roughly about 7 million in America between the ages of 25 and 55, who are not working and are actively not looking for work. Now, COVID certainly had a hand in accelerating these figures. One question posed to these dropouts was how many of these...
I remember there was a lady at our... during COVID, there was a lady that used to work for a company. Well, actually, she did work at the company at the time. And she apparently was taking unemployment checks, but she was working at this company at the same time. Which was crazy, bro. And yeah, that whole situation is a wild one. like the nerve you have to file for unemployment, but be employed the whole time is wild. And then like people will always be like, oh well, if they find out, I'll just blame it on, I didn't know, I thought it was for like injuries or whatever it might be. It's like, come on now. You're gonna ask for government money, you better understand, you better check your T's and dot your I's for sure.
Men were on pain medication, and almost half of these men admitted to taking pain medication daily. And aside from those who desperately need it, these figures could indicate that men are aimlessly numbing themselves to their new reality. And this is great for society.
I don't even think this is like, obviously Moon probably has a very high men audience, but like I don't even think this applies just to men. I think this applies 100% to women as well. You could apply this to the syndrome of housewife syndrome or whatever it is. You have the military wife syndrome as well. There's a lot of different syndromes and instances where being home alone all day, they causes depression and all this other kind of stuff. The interesting part is though the amount of people that are out of the workforce and not looking to be in the workforce at all. Is that because of unemployment checks? And is that just a pretty much hint of what's going to be coming later in the pipeline? When I do think eventually, I don't think it's going to happen in the next couple of years or whatever, probably the next 20 years I'd imagine, maybe even longer, which would be surprising, but I do think we're going to get to a point where we're going to have some kind of base universal income baseline, just because of jobs and everything. But I mean, unemployment checks are kind of that already. So yeah, it is kind of interesting.
As people don't have to deal with this huge problem. And what's even more shocking is that 40% of these men do have some kind of degree.
That is fucking wild. That is wild. You went to school and got a degree and you're unemployed because you can't find a job. That's one thing, but you're not even looking for a job. I mean, maybe they're like married to an Instagram model, so they don't even have to like worry about it because IG's paying the bills. That'd be cool. I don't know. That is interesting.
Of men are in this group, demographically, education, family structure, ethnicity. Who makes up this group?
Surprisingly large, representation of guys with college or even college degrees. 40% of this group has at least some college, and as I recall, about a fifth or a sixth are college grads.
The decision to be in this state is closely related.
5%? Or no, 40, a fifth. So that would be like, 5%.
Related to changing times. We've already discussed the effects of brain rot in another upload, which disabled problem solving in Generation Z and has already presented problems in
I'll have to check that video out.
Finding jobs. They are quick to quit at the first difficult task and move on to find something else, but what happens when options run dry and they find themselves simply stuck in limbo? Giving up seems to be the next step, and accepting that is easy when they're discouraged by the situation. Working off of surveys, the data compiled indicates that these men are not only not working, but they're cutting themselves off from their communities, or there's no incentivization for them to even have any community in the first place. They're hiding out because going out would mean meeting new people who might oppose their lifestyles. It makes it uncomfortable. Why leave when you can just aimlessly watch brain rot content and numb yourself with weed or pain medication and stay inside in the warm comfort of home?
Okay, he's making it sound so dark and depressing. Like all people that stay inside abuse drugs and are constantly melting their brains. That is not true at all. There's a lot of homebodies out there that are very productive, that don't do drugs and don't drink their pain away. They don't pop pills 24/7. So yeah, I just want to put that, because I am a homebody. 100% have turned into a homebody. I'm employed, I have a job and everything, just to be fair. But yeah, I like to stay home. I don't like to go out to the clubs. Like, I like to go on dates and stuff like that too, but like, I don't know. A lot of my friends have turned into homebodies as well. It's just because you get older and you want to stay at home more. Shocker. Like, what? Like, I don't know.
And any sexual needs you have can be satisfied with pixels on a screen. This lifestyle is increasingly becoming more...
That is true. There is a little bit more a comfort level added to it, because I got like TVs everywhere. People are always on their phone. I mean, but like when you think of staying home and staying in, you don't really think of like just scrolling on your phone. But that's probably what a lot of people do. I like to interact with my my significant other and do something fun. and enjoy the day. So I don't know. Like watch a
more and
movie or
more
something.
normal for men in the West. But what's important to note is
Play a
that
game, I
men
can't say
don't
I'm-
want to be this way. It's a horrible lifestyle, it's depressing, it's atomizing. What this really is just a coping mechanism or a form of self-defense against a society that's becoming increasingly hostile to these men. Up until recently, the problem has been invisible. These figures weren't shown in any statistics or surveys because they slipped through the cracks until very recently. So why did they slip through the cracks? Well, it's easy to see. They simply don't fit the victim criteria. Some have degrees, they're in the prime of their lives, and it was their choice to quit. It's easily overlooked and only comes to light as the numbers rise. Nicholas Upstart.
I know this guy's going down through his little outro pretty much, trying to make his point, but I think this video is good. It is very good, but it does like allure to certain things that I think could be critiqued. Like, for instance, when I think of a single man that's depressed or whatever it might be, staying at his home too much, I actually don't think of that. I think of like most of the people that I know that have gone through shit. They're kind of depressed or whatever it might be, but they're single. They're out and about. They keep going out. They want to meet people because obviously they want to meet that significant other. And the people I do though that like have their significant other, whether that be a girlfriend, fiance, wife, or etc. for the opposite sex, they a lot of them do turn into homebodies for sure, but like they're not depressed or anything like that. And we're at an age. I'm 27. My friends are around the same age as me. They all have jobs, and we're all like individually, financially stable and stuff like that. But yeah. So I think there's a lot of misconstrues of what the average person is, and I feel like my friend group and everything like that is probably close to the average for our age group and everything. And there probably are a lot of people that are like have wives that are breadwinners and stuff like that, where they don't need to have a job. And I can see a lot of the negative information coming from reports from divorces, which would make 100%. It just doesn't make sense to me at all that these statistics and these numbers would add up in my head. That just doesn't make sense at all. I don't know.
Wrote a book called Men Without Work and has since exposed and addressed the problems in his book. He says he is trained to look for hidden in plain sight problems, which is how he stumbled upon this issue. You see, these men are not causing trouble, at least for now, and they don't seem to be drawing any attention to themselves. On the contrary, they keep to themselves. So surveys and
Well, if this is true, yeah, they are causing trouble, but it's for themselves. They're damaging their own lives for sure.
statistics just don't include them at all. They don't even register on the scale, and people in society think this is a joke issue. And
yeah. So I'm very curious how he got this information, or whoever got this information, how it was gathered, because if it's not on the scale, how are you supposed to weigh it, right? And if it's information that's not on the scale, like, I don't know. It's just something fishy about these numbers to me. I don't know.
It's also reasonable to conclude that some of these men may work, but in the underground economy. Work like formal cash jobs, or even
So drug dealers?
shady illegal ways of making money. But of course, this is just a
Oh yeah, there's a huge industry of that for sure.
minor portion.
But typically with those people, they're gonna have another job to, obviously look like a normal citizen. Like, come on, what are we doing? A guy that's just selling dope on the streets isn't just gonna stay at home constantly. He's gonna have some kind of cover-up job.
Of these men. We need to address the problem head on. How is the situation getting this bad? These men have completely lost their purpose in life. All of their duty, their hopes, their responsibilities, their own dignity and value. It's being completely decimated at the moment. And we're seeing this with the form of radicalization online, growing hatred and division, and a general apathy towards society as a whole. And the longer this is ignored, the harder it's going to be addressed down the line. More men today than ever feel disconnected, disillusioned, and left behind by a world that seems increasingly indifferent to their struggles. While GDP numbers and employment stats may sound like an easy, good solution on paper, especially to government bureaucracies, it will never really fix the reality of the situation for normal people. The real challenge we face today in the West is to find purpose and meaning again, to have any reason to even want to participate and achieve greatness in society. We should focus on creating environments where people can thrive, where beauty, philosophy, and higher noble pursuits are actively encouraged by the cities and countries that we inhabit, which would give millions of men a reason to care again.
Well, that is a whole different topic of why people aren't trying to strive and have what does it say? Sorry.
Countries that we inhabit, which would give millions of
we should focus on creating environments where people can thrive. Well, you know, a lot of people have, you know, clashing views, so that's probably not possible. Where beauty, philosophy, and higher noble pursuits are you know, that's it's all, you know, depending on your viewpoint of what beauty is nowadays. Some people might think that's already, you know, a mainstream thing people are pursuing online. You never know. And the philosophy as well, you know, you see a lot of people questioning genders and all kinds of stuff like that nowadays, and higher noble pursuits. Well, that a lot of people don't want to go to church anymore, so I don't know. There's a lot more higher noble pursuits than just that, you know, for your life and stuff like that, for architecture, whatever it might be, right? But at the end of the day, a lot of people just want to get a roof over their head. They want to own a roof under their head or over their head. So yeah, there's a lot of issues with society nowadays. It's dove into quite a bit of them. It's a good video. Give it a like. Go give him a sub if you want. His name's Moon. He's at 1.45 million subscribers. He puts out really good videos. I need to make a video on my own and make a take about stuff like this, because I think it could be, the numbers in here seem kind of misleading in my opinion, but whatever. Expecting men to work hard in a world where they can't have homes, families, might have been a mistake. Yeah, that seems like a huge issue, in my opinion as well. Like homes and families, like having a home and a family to come to in the home once you're done working is like, it's like the bottom line, what you think of when you're a kid. But then you get older and you realize that that's not the bottom line. That's actually a privilege to have. There's no point doing anything for society that actively hurts you, pretty much, or hates you, and blames you for the world's problems. Yeah, I mean, men are blamed for the problems nowadays in America for sure. Men are giving up, women most affected. Very simple. No girlfriends, no wives, no kids, no respect, no reasons. Which is crazy, man. Almost no volunteering. I didn't get paid enough to live to live working, and you want me to give labor for free, lowering labor. Okay, God, these people need to fucking. These people are watching Coco Melon, I'm guessing. Let me read this again. Almost no volunteering. I don't get paid enough to live working, and you want me to give labor for free, lowering labor's worth even more? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah, that struck me off guard too, when people was like, oh, they're not volunteering. It's like, people ain't got jobs out here. Why the fuck would they volunteer? It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a professional sick society. Oof, what a banger. This is not by accident. Yeah. Is it not by accident? I don't know. But it is happening nowadays, and it's fucking wild, man. It's a huge issue, bro. I don't know. I recently got done. I had a wedding this last week, right? And it made me realize like how much my friends meant to me. It was such a good time. It was, you know, you need moments like that in your life that remind you why friendship's so key in life. And there's a lot of people nowadays, they don't have friends. Don't have the pleasure of hanging out with them in person, seeing them grow over the years, stuff like that. And I think that's a huge reason he didn't really cover, but being like completely like online. All your friends are online, all your experiences are online, all the lessons you learn are online, whatever it might be. Just being completely plugged into the online stratosphere of the world we have nowadays. I think that is a huge detriment to your overall health and experience. Like one of the benefits of having a job would be like the real life experiences you're gonna have, the interactions you're gonna have with people, and that is beneficial to keep you sane. But it's also an opportunity for you to meet a significant other. But yeah, I don't know. There's a whole rabbit hole I could keep on going down. And there's so many ways we could go down this, but I don't want this video to be too long. So comment down below your thoughts, and we'll keep the conversation flowing on there on the comment section below. So yeah, there should be a couple of videos popping up here soon. So click on one of those. My name is Trey Swish. Thank you for watching the Ether. I'll see you in the next video. Deuces.